So let's talk about February 2026. This is not a normal month for gaming. I mean, it is an all-out brawl for your time, for your attention, a total storm of massive releases all dropping at once. So let's get into it and figure out what the heck is going on. Normally, publishers try to give their big games some space, right? Let them breathe. But this month, oh no. The schedule is just jam-packed. It really feels like they've squeezed a decade's worth of big ideas and crazy risks into just a couple of weeks.
So when you've got this many heavy hitters all stepping into the ring at once, you got to ask the big question, who's actually going to come out on top? We've got the numbers, we've seen what people are saying. Let's break it all down.
All right, first up, the Great Release Logjam. Why is everyone launching right now? I'll tell you this much, it is not a coincidence. It's a strategic retreat. Yeah, you heard me. Some of the biggest studios out there are straight up running from something. And what are they running from? A monster. Seriously, the entire industry is spooked, completely terrified of dropping a game anywhere near Rockstar's next open-world behemoth that's coming later this year. So, to avoid getting completely vaporized off the map, they've all crammed themselves into the first quarter. And that's what's created this February storm we're living through right now. Okay, let's dive into February's heavy hitters and analyze this first wave. We've got 3 huge games that have already dropped, and man, each one is taking a completely different shot at winning you over.
First on the block, Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem. And look, this is way more than just another sequel. It's a technical masterpiece, it's running on the brand new RE Engine 2.0, and get this, it's got a procedural gore system. It dynamically calculates damage so you can literally carve away layers of skin and muscle. It is a brutal, no apologies return to classic survival horror, and the critics, they are loving it. It's sitting at a massive 92 aggregate score. And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got Ubisoft's Far Cry 7 Polaris. You know how everyone was saying the Far Cry formula was getting stale? Well, Ubisoft heard them, and they basically threw the whole playbook out the window. There's no minimap, no HUD. You just get dropped into the Alaskan wilderness with a physical map and a compass. That's it. It's this super radical, almost punishing pivot into hardcore survival. And this right here, this is a perfect tale of 2 philosophies. You've got Resident Evil over here, perfecting a formula they already mastered, getting it down to a science. And then you've got Far Cry, just breaking their formula completely, risking it all to find a new identity. 2 totally different bets. And that big risk? Oh yeah, it has absolutely split the community right down the middle. The hardcore survival fans are praising the immersion, but a lot of the more casual players, they are just review bombing the game on Steam. But here's the really interesting part. That controversy, that backlash, it's ironically what's gotten everyone talking about Far Cry again. It's a classic high-risk, high-reward move, and in terms of just getting people's attention, it kind of paid off. Okay, our third major player is Yakuza Kiwami 3. Now this is a full-on, ground-up remake of the 2009 classic, completely rebuilt in the modern Dragon engine. And it finally fixes the one thing everyone complained about in the original, the super stiff combat. Fans used to call it block Yuza, because enemies would just block all day. Now, it's a smooth, seamless, visceral brawling experience that looks almost real. So 48 hours, what's that about? Well, in just 2 days, thanks to a super smart day 1 launch on Xbox Game Pass, Kiwami 3 completely shattered the franchise's all-time concurrent player record on PC. It just goes to show you, making your game easy to access can be every bit as powerful as having a giant marketing budget. All right, so we've covered design. Time for the performance report card. Let's look at the hard data from the front lines. Enough about ideas. How do these games actually run? We fired them up in the lab and put them through the ringer to find out. So here's our performance test, running at 1440p on an RTX 4070 Ti, a pretty solid rig. And the results, well, they're pretty clear. Resident Evil and Yakuza are just beautifully optimized. You can see it right there. High average FPS, and what's really important, those 1% lows, which is basically the worst stuttering you're going to feel. They're super strong. The games feel smooth. But then you look over at Far Cry, and yeah, that's a whole different story. I mean, just look at that gap for Far Cry 7. It's a tale of 2 frame rates. An average of 58 FPS. That sounds fine on paper, right? But that 1% low is down at 32. What that feels like when you're playing is a jarring, super noticeable stutter. Our deep dive showed a major CPU bottleneck.
The game's crazy complex snow physics and all the AI, they are just hammering the processor. So even if you have a beast of a graphics card, older CPUs are just choking.
But here's the thing. All of this, the sales numbers, the reviews, the performance charts, all of it comes with a giant asterisk. Because tomorrow, the final boss approaches. The long-awaited legend enters the arena, and it is going to change everything.
We're talking about a 7-year wait, folks. A wait so long it literally became a global meme. But it's over. Team Cherry is finally releasing Hollow Knight Silksong. The first game, made by a tiny team of just 3 people, is widely considered a modern masterpiece. The level of hype for this sequel, it's something we've just never seen before for an indie game. It's off the charts.
And this is the key thing you need to understand. This is not just more Hollow Knight. We've got a whole new protagonist, Hornet, and she plays completely differently. She's faster, way more acrobatic. Her whole combat style is aggressive and built around aerial moves. You're looking at a massive new kingdom to explore, over 150 new enemies. I'm telling you, this is a colossal indie game that people fully expect to go toe-to-toe with the biggest AAA titles for Game of the Year.
And since it's dropping on Game Pass day 1, you're going to want to be ready. So here's your personal Silksong launch checklist. First, get that preload started now. It's about 15 gigs. Second, if you really can't wait, you could, consider the old region trick. Set your system to New Zealand, you might get in a few hours early. And third, and this is crucial, make sure you update your GPU drivers first thing on launch day. So tomorrow, the rules change. But what's the final verdict? For now, looking back at this insane month, if we only focus on the games that are already out, a few clear winners do start to emerge in their own lanes.
Here's the consensus from our war room. For best graphics and pure atmosphere, it's gotta be Resident Evil Requiem, no question. For the boldest design pivot, and the most divisive, that award goes to Far Cry 7. And for the highest consumer value, come on, it's Yakuza Kiwami 3 on Game Pass. You just can't beat it. Honestly, the real winner, up to this point, it's been us, the players.
So the verdict is in. The winners are clear.
But because tomorrow, all the rules change. The most anticipated game of the last 7 years finally drops, and it's going to redefine this entire conversation. The question isn't who won February anymore. The question is, what happens next? Are you ready?